My name is Andrew. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And although it's a life-changing diagnosis, it's not a life-ending diagnosis. You can still live a wonderful life. And this is my story. So I was diagnosed with what they call early onset Parkinson's. I was young, relatively young. Someone like Michael J. Fox was diagnosed in his late 20s. I was diagnosed in my early 40s. At first, I didn't really believe it, because it was just my arm that just was moving slower. But as time has progressed, I do notice that things have changed, whether it be physically or mentally. I've noticed the changes that have happened over the years, where your balance is different. You have to take care of yourself physically. You have to eat right. You have to exercise. Get out and go for a walk. Go to the gym. Do weight training. You need to stay active to be able to slow down the progression. But I have noticed changes over time. And sometimes you don't notice them right away. Sometimes you just notice wow, this is different than it was before. So life was good. I look back at 2018, 2019 were great years. I'm really into golf. I love golf. I'm horrible at it. Horrible. But I love it. When I started playing golf, I realized this is not easy. This is hard. It's mentally challenging. Back in 2018, 2019, I went on so many different golf trips, and whether it be Myrtle Beach or California or Florida, got to see Tiger Woods up close and personal. That was one of the greatest trips of my life, going there and experiencing a different country and experiencing golf over there. That was amazing. Bought a new house, my dream home, up in the woods, 7 acres, peaceful, quiet, everything I ever wanted. Then 2020 came. We were grounded, basically. We couldn't travel, and so I went from being on the road all the time to being home all the time, and that was a huge change. With a lot of people that I worked with, we would get on a conference call, on our phones, and we would walk together. One of my coworkers, we became good friends, and he would kind of force me to walk and exercise, and that's where I first started to notice it's kind of weird that my left arm, as you walk, your arms swing, and my left arm wasn't swinging when I was walking. I thought that's kind of strange. Wonder why it's not doing anything. And unless I thought about it, if I thought about it, my arm would swing. But if I didn't think about it, my arm just stayed still, and I just didn't know what it was. And I was talking with somebody that I work with, and he had problems with his back. And I remember specifically talking to him about it. And he had a pinched nerve in his back, and how it affected him. And I was like, wow, maybe that's what I have. Maybe I have a pinched nerve in my back or something, a pinched nerve in my shoulder or whatever. And that's preventing my arm from working right. And I went on a trip to Cape Cod and came back, and I was having chest pains. I didn't know if it was an anxiety attack or if it was I was having heart trouble. And it worried me because my father passed away of a heart attack. My grandfather passed away of a heart attack. And so I got nervous that I was having heart issues. So we went through tests, went through a stress test, EKG, all that kind of stuff. Through further testing, that ended up being okay, and that ended up getting cleared up. And then I was like, "Hey doc, what about this thing with my arm?" And he's like, "Okay, yeah, we need to address that." He goes, "I'm going to set you up with a neurologist." That didn't really hit me. When he said that, I was just like, "Oh, okay." So set me up with a neurologist, and that's when I first heard possibly could be Parkinson's disease. And I was like, kind of blown away. Like that's not real. But it was just a possibility, so I didn't think that was really what it would be. I didn't think that was something that would ever happen to me. So we did some testing. They do a test, I believe it's called like a DAT scan. I could be wrong. But you basically get injected with like, kind of crazy, like they bring out this needle, and it's in like a lead case, like it's nuclear. And they inject it into you. Like, you have to wait like an hour, and it goes into your brain, and then they scan your brain, I guess based on where it goes and where everything ends up, and how they look at your brain. They can tell whether there's damage to your brain. And so I had to wait for the test results, which was kind of a nerve-wracking time, because like I think it took maybe almost a week, and waiting to hear back. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night, and I looked at my phone, and I saw that I had an email from Berkshire Patient Portal, and it was test results. And this was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I said to myself, "These are my test results." If I look, and it's positive, I'm definitely not going back to sleep. Like, it's gonna be upsetting, and I'm definitely not going back to sleep. But there's no chance that I'm gonna be able to go back to sleep with knowing that my test results are there, and wait till the morning. I'm not gonna be able to go back to sleep. So I laid in bed for probably about an hour, until about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I finally got up, went downstairs, and got on my laptop and opened up the test results, and sure enough, it was positive for Parkinson's disease. And I sat there at 3 o'clock in the morning by myself. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to cry. I didn't know whether to be angry, or I didn't know. And I definitely wish my dad was there so I could call him and talk to him, but unfortunately he had passed. I didn't want to, wasn't married yet, but I didn't want to call, wake her up at 3 o'clock in the morning and give her that bad news. So I waited. I didn't fall back to sleep. I couldn't. And then I don't remember exactly what time it was, but I think I waited till 8, maybe 8:30, and called my now wife and told her, and she was obviously, we knew it was a possibility, but she was, I'm sure it affected, I know it affected her, but she was strong for me, and she was strong like she always is. So I waited for the doctor to call. Doctor didn't call. Waited the next day, he didn't call. And I finally called the doctor's office, and they said he would get back to me, and then he didn't. Kind of pissed me off, to be honest with you. I'm sitting here with this information, and he's not calling me back, but I tried to be understanding that, he's got other patients and a lot going on, so finally called me back when we went through the weekend, and he finally called me back, and he goes, yeah, that's what it is, so, we got to have you come in and let's talk about what next steps are, and so I remember meeting with him and talking about what my options were for medication and rehabilitation, and how this would affect me. And I always remember him saying that this was not a life-ending diagnosis, but it was a life-changing diagnosis. For me, you go through, they talk about the Sarah model: shock, anger, resentment. I remember being shocked. I remember being angry. I remember going through all the steps of dealing with that, and I didn't want to share it with anybody. I didn't want to tell anybody, because I don't know if I was embarrassed, but I didn't want people to think of me differently. I didn't want people to think of me that I couldn't do what I always have done, and I didn't want people to think that I couldn't do my job, that I wouldn't be the person that I am. And what scared me the most was, we had a family friend that went through Parkinson's, and he dealt with it for 17 years. And I don't think about the beginning when he was okay. I think about the end when he was really at his worst. And that's what I remembered. I remembered him not being able to really function, and, struggling to eat and struggling to walk and struggling to do things. And, that's what I remembered, and scared the crap out of me. So I didn't share with a lot of people. Only my closest of friends, and even some of my close friends, I didn't tell. And I kept it a secret for a very long time. I let it stop me from living. I stopped playing golf with my friends. I stopped doing things that I normally would do. I became a totally different person, even though I was still Andrew. I was still me. But I let it affect me to where I wasn't me anymore. I wasn't the happy guy. I was enjoying life and traveling, whether it be work or for fun. I stopped doing all that stuff. And, you can't get that time back. The most valuable commodity that we have in life is time. And I wasted so much time just feeling bad for myself. One of the things that I would change is is not wasting that time. One of my friends was getting married, and you know, the day before he was getting married, you know, he got everybody together and play golf, and I hadn't played in probably 2 years, and I went out there with my buddies and played, and I didn't play great, but I had a couple good holes, and I remember standing there on one hole where I made a par, and I was almost in tears because I didn't play golf for 2 years. I missed playing with my friends. I missed hanging out with them. I missed spending that time with them just because of this diagnosis. And it made me stop living. Instead of enjoying life, like, it should have made me stop and say, wow, I need to enjoy every moment. It's going to change my life, but I can still live my life and enjoy things. You know, I had a lot of my close friends were very supportive and very encouraging, and I'm thankful for them. But two people, my wife, my pastor, they were the strength, they were the rocks for me. And I could not be more grateful to the two of them for encouraging me and supporting me through this process. I work in, you know, a corporate environment where it's unfortunately sometimes very cutthroat. And even though you're protected because of your health status, I was worried that somebody would find out and, you know, I wouldn't be able to advance in my career, or, you know, maybe I'd lose my job. So I kept it a secret from work. I kept it secret from a lot of my friends and a lot of people that I associate with. And man, I'll tell you, that makes it worse. It makes it more stressful. Hiding it creates so much anxiety and so much stress because you're worried every day. Did somebody notice? Did somebody see me twitch or shake, or did they notice that maybe I wasn't talking as clearly, or, and you're in this constant state of worry. Instead of just coming out and telling people so they can be supportive of you, keeping it a secret was a huge mistake. I look back on my faith, and you know, I kept it secret from people at church. Like, church, the place where you should trust everybody and trust in God and know that everybody, if there, would support you and pray for you. And I denied them the ability to support me. I denied them the ability to pray for me. You know, it's funny. People always say that God will never give you more than you can handle. And that's not true. God will give you more than you can handle. But you have to trust in Him, that He's got your back, and that you can turn it over to Him to help you with it, and that other people can help you through this process. You gotta have faith and trust. So He will give you more than you can handle, but you gotta know that you gotta turn it over to God, because He can handle it for you. You know, my pastor kept encouraging me and encouraging me to communicate with the church and get up and talk to the church about it. And she was planning on retiring at the end of 2024. I need to do it before she left, because I wanted her support in doing it. I'm sitting in church with my wife, and I tried to get my pastor's attention, from the balcony, my wife, being who my wife is, spoke up and interrupted church. And my pastor looked up and was like, she said, "Andrew, do you want to speak to the church?" And I said, "Yeah." And I walked up to the front of the church, and one of the things my wife kind of jokes with me about is that I've become very emotional over the last few years since my diagnosis. Like, I'll cry at commercials, cry at movies, I cry at the littlest of things. And she'll always look at me and she'll go, "Are you crying?" And I try to hide it, but I can't. So I walked up to my pastor in front of the church, and she gave me a hug, and I started crying, and she said, "Do you want to speak to the church?" And I said, "I don't think I can." She said, "Can I speak for you?" And I said, "Yes, you may." So she announced to the church, what I was going through and what I was dealing with. And then what happened next was the most powerful and amazing moment, I think, of my life. A woman stood up in the back of the church. She just recently started coming to the church, and she said, "I was diagnosed 2 years ago. I'm here for you. I love you. And I'll support you." Then another woman got up. She said, "I was diagnosed with MS. I'm here for you. I love you. I'll support you in any way I can." Another woman got up. She had cancer. She said, for her, unfortunately, she's pretty far along in cancer and she might not make it. But she still said, "I'm here for you, I love you, and I'll do whatever I can to support you." There's probably 5 or 6 people that got up and shared something that they were dealing with. It was just such a powerful moment. You think about what you're going through and you think it's really hard, and it is. But there's other people out there that are struggling just like you are. And what they might be going through might be even harder, but you don't know. That's when it hit me. It was like, it wasn't just about me. And that's what she said to me. She goes, "It wasn't just about you getting up and you feeling better about yourself." She said, "Did you know that those other people had those conditions, that they were dealing with what they were dealing with?" And I said, "No, I had no clue." She said, "Neither did I." And they've been keeping it in. How is it affecting them? How is it eating away at them inside like it was eating away at me inside? That was the moment where I felt free again. Where I felt like I could live my life again. Like, it showed me that people care. It showed me that people were not going to treat me any differently. It showed me that people were going to love me just the same as they loved me before they knew. I felt free for the first time in 4 years. And that moment changed my life. And if I could tell anybody that's going through any problem, whether it be Parkinson's, MS, cancer, whatever, trust in God, have faith in God that He's got your back, And don't keep that burden to yourself. Share with others so they can be supportive of you. Because you can't do it on your own. You can't. There are days that, quite frankly, they suck. There's days where the medicine just doesn't help. And you need people that love you and care about you in your life to help you through those bad days. But if you don't let them know, they don't know what you're dealing with. I mean, my friends still pick on me just the way they picked on me as they always have. And I wouldn't expect any different. I want them to. I've made a commitment now, and I'm going to live my life. Going on a golf trip in a couple weeks with a couple of my buddies. Looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting away and playing some golf, and still going to suck. But I'm going to have fun and enjoy the company.
Why are you telling this story today?
Well, I have a friend that is pretty relentless and wouldn't take no for an answer. He knows that this is not who I am. I am not the kind of person to sit in front of a camera and talk about my life and share my feelings. That's not my nature. That's not my style. Yeah, he had to keep asking over and over, and I felt bad for saying no, because I didn't want to let you down. Yeah, I mean, being a Christian, you think that you wouldn't make fun of me and torture me the way that you have, but you kept going and were relentless. But him being a good friend, he knew that this would be good for me, that possibly it could be good for others. And here I am.